Nobody wakes up one day and decides to become the version of themselves they hate. It happens slowly, quietly, like a poison that's been in your system so long you've started calling it personality. You look in the mirror sometimes and don't recognize who's looking back. Not physically, but the way you respond to people. The way you shrink in certain rooms. The way you say, "I'm fine," when there's a storm going on inside you. You weren't always like this. At some point in your life, something happened. Maybe something huge. Maybe something that seemed small at the time. And your brain made a quiet decision to protect you. That decision became a habit. That habit became a pattern. And that pattern became what you now call yourself. Here's what psychology actually says about who you are. Your personality isn't just who you are. It's a survival strategy your brain designed when you were too young, too small, and too powerless to know any better. Psychologists call it adaptive behavior. Your mind watching the world around you and quietly deciding this is how we survive here. A child raised in a loud, chaotic household learns to stay silent, to avoid becoming a target. A child who was ignored learns to either scream for attention or slowly stop needing it altogether. A child who is constantly criticized either becomes a perfectionist who can never rest, or someone who stops trying completely to avoid the pain of failing again. None of these are character flaws. They are responses, intelligent, calculated responses from a brain that was doing its absolute best with the limited information it had. But here's where it starts to get heavy. The strategy that kept you safe at 8 years old is now silently destroying your life at 25. That silence that once protected you from your father's anger is now making you invisible in your career. That emotional wall you built to survive rejection is now keeping out every single person who genuinely wants to love you. That relentless need for validation that helped you survive a home that never made you feel enough. It's now making you chase people who don't deserve to be chased. Your brain doesn't know the war is over. It's still running the same old program, scanning every room for threats, playing defense against dangers that don't even exist anymore, keeping you locked inside a version of yourself that was built for a world you no longer live in. And the cruelest part of all of this, you've started to call that program your personality. So how do you actually change it? Not with a motivational speech, not with a quote you screenshot and never look at again. Not with a 5-step morning routine someone sold you on YouTube. Real, deep personality change starts with something psychologists call authorship. The moment you stop being a character in the story life wrote for you and finally pick up the pen yourself. The first step is real awareness, not surface-level awareness. Not knowing your zodiac sign or your MBTI type, but sitting down in genuine silence and asking the question most people are too afraid to ask. Where did this actually come from? Not to blame your parents, not to reopen your past, just to live in it, but to understand that every single pattern you carry has an origin. And anything with an origin can be traced, understood, and rewritten. The second step is neuroplasticity, which is just the scientific term for your brain's proven, documented ability to rewire itself. Every time you act against your old pattern, every time the person who always goes quiet finally speaks. Every time the person who always said yes says no instead. Your brain registers that as new experience and physically starts building new pathways. You are not hardwired. You are not your trauma. You are whatever you repeatedly, consistently choose to do. Now this next part is the thing nobody actually talks about, and it's the exact reason most people quit right before the breakthrough. When you start to genuinely change, it feels wrong. Not wrong like you made a mistake, wrong like you're wearing clothes that don't belong to you. Wrong like this new version of you doesn't fit yet. Your nervous system has been wired to the old version of you for years, and growth feels like danger because, to your brain, unfamiliar and unsafe are the exact same signal. That discomfort you feel the first time you set a real boundary. That tightness, that guilt sitting heavy in your chest, that's not a sign you did something bad. That's a sign you did something new. That awkwardness you feel when you speak with confidence in a room full of people, that's not arrogance. That's the newer version of you learning to walk for the very first time. Identity shifts are supposed to feel uncomfortable, and anyone who told you otherwise wasn't going deep enough or wasn't being straight with you. But here is what is actually waiting on the other side of that discomfort. A version of you that doesn't apologize for taking up space. A version of you that doesn't perform confidence, but actually genuinely feels it from somewhere real inside. A version of you that walks into a room without running a background program that's constantly whispering, "Do they like me? Am I too much? Am I even enough?" That version of you is not a fantasy built on self-help books. It is a direction, and the only real thing standing between you and that direction is the decision to stop calling your old survival strategy your identity. The person you're capable of becoming is already inside you. The only thing in the way is the story you keep telling yourself about who you are. If this hits somewhere real, share it with one person who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because this channel exists for the people who actually want to understand themselves.